Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, here we have it. The great old California being is terrible again. You know, it's when I do move out of this state. If they even gave me 2 weeks notice to move out of this state because we're gonna push it away into the great depths of the ocean, you know what I would do? I would be quite thankful, and I would find what my stuff is, move to a state that is not a lunatic state like this one, and I'll be completely happy. I'll be rejoiced. I know people that have left the state and are rejoiced that they have left the state. Huh. It's almost like being in California is like being restricted and being in hell. That's what it's like being in California. Because you have the gas prices, you have the immense taxes, the amount to be able to live here. It's just all so great. And our governors beforehand have all been so great. It's only until you people actually get out of the state and realize that their lives are easier to be lived in, they're easier to have a life in other states. You're able to function. You don't feel as restricted. It's just like it's just a massive difference to people. And I didn't even know some people are still wanting to move out of California because of the fact that California is just so hard to live in, and that's just the reality of it, man. Like, people don't want to live here, and you can't really blame them. But what the article is pretty much saying, why I'm having this rant, first off, is California may soon become gender-affirming care sanctuary state. So, we are going to exactly what that means, and what the bill has there. We'll go over it very briefly just to show you, and let's see what this actually means and what this breaks down. Let's begin on this travesty. California looks to be well on the way to passing a bill that would treat refusals to allow puberty blocking, transgender surgeries, or other forms of gender-affirming care as akin to how the law now treats child abuse and abandonment of children brought from out of state. From SB 107, which has to be heard in the Judiciary Committee today by emphasis, a court of this state has temporary emergency jurisdiction if the child is present in the state and the child has been abandoned, or if it is necessary in an emergency to protect the child because the child or a sibling or parent of the child is subjected to or threatened with mistreatment or abuse, or because the child has been unable to obtain gender-affirming health care or gender-affirming mental health care. If California is an inconvenient form involving custody fights and other domestic law matters, usually the state's courts will refuse jurisdiction, but this general rule will not apply to the case involving gender-affirming care disputes. In a case where the provision of gender-affirming health care or gender-affirming mental health care to the child is at issue, a court of this state shall not determine that it is inconvenient from form where the law or policy of the state that may take jurisdiction limits the ability of a parent to obtain gender-affirming health care or gender-affirming mental health care for their child. Usually, if a parent refuses to return a child to another state after visitation, California courts won't take jurisdiction, but a specific exemption to this general rule is being fashioned when gender-affirming healthcare is at issue. Okay, let me try to break this down to you guys to kind of where you can pretty much understand. Essentially, what it's saying is that if you have a child that's either out of state or that's out of state, they can technically still take away your child if the child wants to pretty much go to another gender. So it doesn't matter what age, obviously, because they don't care what age, and they want to do this. Now, if anybody has watched What is a Woman, we have seen the dark side of this stuff. Don't worry, guys, I will get to that. I'm going to try to do it within the next week or so, to try to see where I can get that going, do a commentary over it, and specifically go over to see if I can have somebody else kind of help me with it as well, to see what we can do with that. But it shows you the dark side and the underbelly of the gender-affirming care. And then I will also go over exactly on the fact that we have specifically what these hormones and what these gender things do to actual people and what they were actually used for these puberty blockers and stuff. And we know that it has negative offenses. In Sweden, the UK, and Finland, and I think one other country, this stuff is banned. You cannot do this. This is banned. It's illegal in those countries. Why is this, for whatever apparent reason, being allowed here? It's disgusting. Except as otherwise provided in section 3424 or by any other law of this state, if a court of this state has jurisdiction under this part because a person seeking to invoke its jurisdiction has engaged in unjustified conduct, the court shall decline to exercise its jurisdiction unless one of the following are true. In making a determination under this section, a court shall not consider as a factor weighing against the petitioner any taking of the child or retention of the child after a visit or other temporary relinquishment of physical custody from the person who has legal if there is evidence that the taking or retention of the child was a result of domestic violence against the petitioner, or for the purpose of obtaining gender-affirming health care or gender-affirming mental health care for the child, and the law or policy of the other state limits the ability of a parent to obtain gender-affirming health care or gender-affirming mental health care for their child. Out-of-state laws would not be enforced that go against transgender ideology. A law in out-of-state that authorizes a state agency to remove a child from their parent or guardian based on the parent or guardian allowing their child to receive gender-affirming health care shall not be enforced or applied in case of pending court in this state. Nor will California cooperate with other states' orders if it involves denial of gender-affirming care. It is the public policy of the state that an out-of-state arrest warrant for an individual based on violating another state's law against receiving or allowing their child to receive gender-affirming health care is the lowest law enforcement priority. California law enforcement agency shall not make or intentionally participate in the arrest of an individual pursuant to an out-of-state arrest warrant for a violation of another state's law against receiving or allowing a child to receive gender-affirming health care. No state or local law enforcement agency shall cooperate with or provide information to any individual or out-of-state agency or department regarding the provision of law gender-affirming healthcare performed in this state. Nothing in this section shall prohibit the investigation of any criminal activity in the state which may involve the performance of gender-affirming healthcare, provided that no information relating to any medical procedure performed on any specific individual may be shared with out-of-state agency or individual. One assumes that the last bit would include parents, and no arrests or extradition if it involves the provision of gender-affirming care or nor extradition to a state with the laws on the issue than California's. Notwithstanding on any professional state of law, no state or local law enforcement shall make or intentionally participate in, arrest, or recognize any demand for extradition of an individual pursuant to a criminal action related to the law of another state that criminalizes allowing a person to receive or provide gender-affirming health care where that conduct would not be lawful under the laws of this state to the fullest extent permitted by the federal law. Will this bill pass? Almost surely, with what political agency is powerful enough to stop it. If so, California would become a transgender sanctuary state with a law that encourages transgender children to be brought to California to escape court rulings and law of other restrictions where they can go against transgender ideology. This moral panic is really getting out of hand and is tearing the country apart, which I would 100% agree with that last statement right there. That last statement is very true, and now we'll go into the bill context and then see how look at this. This is all terrible. This is honestly terrible. So we have, look at this. What is this? They have it like this to almost make it to where like it's impossible to do anything. And no, guys, this is not, by the way, zoomed. This is just the way it is. This is just terrible. So this is the bill here, and unfortunately, the way they have this bill is horrendously written. I'm going to see if I can actually find a way to get the zoom here, because zoom, because this zoom is just so bad. Okay, so first off, we'll go off to the notes here. So did they just do that? Okay, so we have the history, the bill analysis, today's law as amended, compare version, status, comments to the author, track bill, and add to my favorites. We'll try to do notes here, see if we have anything. So far, the result is pass. The thing is pass, and this is the pass. So that's kind of the notes right now, 2022. The text here, which I think we've already seen. It's amended in June 1st, 2021, amended in Assembly April 21, amended in Senate on February 18th, 2021. So, this is kind of like where it is from here. So, revised in June 8th of 2022. Published 6/01/2022. So, this is kind of where it's been at. So, that's what we have here. Now that we have kind of the bill text and kind of like what we will have with the history, maybe we could get maybe some history on this. So, all the second time reading on all this, where it's going. So, not too much here. But what we'll also do here as well, guys, is that I'll show you where puberty blockers are actively makes people sterile, and is also being used as a thing. So, a lot of people on the internet, and specifically some are arguing that they are that the puberty blockers are not dangerous, they're not harmful, but they do have permanent side effects, and they have some of these things. Though blockers are often described as operating like a pause button, most children prescribe them going to cross-sex hormones. This combination they can have irreversible consequences, including sterility and inability to orgasm. This is from the opinion of these blockers in America, and that is what these kids will be facing here. So that's the thing here. Also, if we do this as well, where we go to sterile sex offenders, they use a certain agent, chemical castration, which would be the sex offenders when the victim is a minor and outrage public seeking vengeance, and in some cases victimizes themselves. So they have the chemical castration, which would be from one of these drugs that we would use from puberty blockers. It's not safe, and it's very bad. And what I would even go too far to say is, we even go here, ladies and gentlemen, where puberty blockers are banned in Sweden and the UK. Sweden's Karoska ends all use of puberty blockers and cross hormones for minors outside of clinical studies. So that's what we have here. This was banned. It ends all puberty blockers. So we and they're not reversible. So again, we have this type of stuff in Sweden, and where I would even, let's go with Finland too. Finland bans puberty blockers. See, Finland turns against puberty blockers for gender dysphoria. So, okay, as you guys can see, I'm not lying here when this is the actual reality. Now, the transgender people will go out and say that, like, oh, puberty blockers are fine, they're not dangerous. No, they have irreversible effects, and they're used for chemical castration for sex offenders here. So, a sex offender treatment and all this stuff. So, guys, this is what California wants to do. We need to fight back and push back against this bullshit, because this is insanity. Why is this being allowed at all in this type of scenario at all? Hopefully, this does not get passed. Hopefully, God, I hope so. Hope not. But if it does, every kid we're gonna have such a huge problem here, and this is the reason why I don't like this state. I hate it. And I really want to move. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and keep your kids out of California. Jesus.